Hi, and welcome to episode 41 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, October 12th, 2018, and this is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, a hand dyer of yarn, and a sewist. Though, again, I still haven't been sewing for quite a while, but I really do hope to start sewing again soon. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast in Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. You can also get in touch with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. I am currently hosting a knit along with the ladies of the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast, and it is called the BEMYNEIGHBORKAL. It is for any cardigan that you would like to knit or crochet in any size, and it is also including any gift or charity projects that you would like to enter. So I have a finished object thread as well as a chatter thread in the Ravelry group, and I am drawing prizes from the finished object thread at the beginning of each month. The first episode that I record of each month, I will draw a prize from the finished objects thread for that knit along, and it will be running until the end of the year. And you can also head on over to the Meanwhile at the Castle podcast Ravelry group to enter in their thread as well. So I certainly hope that many of you will enter. Obviously, many of us are making gift knits heading into the Christmas season, and any of those gift knits that you're making will certainly apply to this knit along. And again, any other charities that you might be knitting for or any cardigans that you're making. So I would love to see your finished objects if you would like to head on over there and enter them. I have 3 finished objects to share with you this week. 2 of them have already been gifted though, so I will just insert some pictures here. If you have watched before, you're very familiar with this pattern because I have been making a lot of them. This is the At Your Service knit cloth, which is a free pattern by Yarnspirations, and I made several of these to give as gifts to several different families that helped us out while I was ill after my appendectomy and recovery period. There were several families through our church that helped us with meals and various other things. So in order to thank them, I have made a towel for each of them. So the first one that I finished, I showed you last week. It was made using Knit Picks Dishy yarn in the Pebble Multi colorway for the bottom section. And then the top section was made using Peaches and Cream in the dark gray colorway. And then the second one that I finished was made using Knit Picks Dishy in the coffee colorway for the bottom section. And the top section I used Pacolet Valley Fiber Company yarn in the copper colorway. And I just finished another one last night, and it is here. For this one, for the bottom section, I again used Knit Picks Dishy in the Deep Blue Sea Multi colorway. And for the top section, I again used Pacolet Valley Fiber Company yarn in the Palomino colorway. So this pattern is again free, but I have adjusted my stitch count and my gauge from the original pattern. I am using US size 6 4mm needles and getting a gauge of 16 stitches to 4 inches. I am casting on less stitches. The original pattern calls for you to cast on 49 stitches. I'm only casting on 45 stitches to make these. And then there's a garter ridge all the way around the body of the towel here. And then in the middle is a seed stitch pattern. And then there's just decreases here at the top and a buttonhole to have this little flap at the top. So it's a super fun and easy pattern. And I think this is maybe number 16 or I think it's number 16 if I remember right. Anyway, so obviously I've got this pattern well memorized by now, and I'm not really sure. Originally, I had started making these towels to give as Christmas gifts, and then I ended up getting sick and decided to give these as thank you presents to those that helped us out. And now I'm wondering if I will continue to make them for Christmas presents. I do have a few extra already made up because I wanted to give people that I was gifting these to a few varieties for the different colors that I had put together, hoping that they would be able to choose one that fit within their color scheme of their kitchen. So I do have a few extra already made. My mother-in-law really loved the set that I gave to her. I gave her a towel as well as a set of 3 dishcloths, and she really enjoyed those and has asked me to make a few different sets for some other family members. So I will be doing that in the upcoming months as well. But it's an easy project for me to take on the go instead of having, a lot of times I have a sock project on the go, but I haven't made socks in a while now. And instead I've just had one of these dishcloths or dish towels on the go. So it works well. It's an easy thing to tote around with me wherever I go. So that's worked well. All right, so that's all I have for finished objects this week. I have a couple of works in progress. The first of which is my Birdie Fair Isle cardigan, which I am so excited to get back to. It had been on hold for a while I had been making some other gift knits and the like. Anyway, so I am so excited to have picked this back up, and it's actually off the needles right now. The last time I showed this on the podcast, I had just finished the colorwork section. So I was just in about an inch into the, I don't think I had separated, no, I hadn't separated for the sleeves yet last time I had shown you. So I had just gone a little bit beyond the colorwork, I believe. And so I was able to pick this up, and it works up so quickly because it's worsted weight, and I was able to finish the body of it. Okay, so this pattern is the Birdie Fair Isle cardigan, and it is by Hannah FETTIG, but I have made several modifications to it. First of all, I am using, it does call for worsted weight, which I'm using. I'm using Wool of the Andes from Knit Picks in the Mink Heather colorway for the main body. The tan color is Mink Heather. And then this blue color is called Wonderland Heather. The birds are made using Onyx Heather, and the gold is called Wheat. I am using, for the ribbing, I have used US size 5, which are 3.75 millimeter needles. Then for the main body, I'm using US size 8, 5 millimeter needles. And for the color work, I went up to a US size 10, 6 millimeter. To get the gauge of 20 stitches to 4 inches. The original pattern calls for you to make this flat, and I decided to make it in the round and add 5 extra Steek stitches to the center here because I did not want to do that color work back and forth, purling the color work. I knew that it was going to be so much easier this way, and yeah, so I'm really happy that I did that. I have also, after I separated for the sleeves, I decided I had tried it on, and I noticed that it was a little bit big, and I wanted it to be more of a fitted cardigan. So I decided, I had looked up a few different patterns that I had in my library for some fitted cardigans, and I had the Miette, I think it's pronounced. I have a copy of the pattern here. It's a free pattern until the end of the year. Then I believe that this pattern is going to be retired. So I wanted to get my copy before it retired because I really do want to make this top. Anyway, this is a free pattern by Andy Satterland. And it has, as you can see, it is a fitted cardigan, and it has some bust darts that are added to the pattern. So the stitch count is a little bit different than what I am using. It is worsted weight for the Miette cardigan as well. But anyway, I just tried it on and counted where I wanted, the stitches as to where I wanted the darts to start. And you can see that I added these darts on either side to get more of a fitted look to the cardigan. And then even after I had done those bust darts, it was still a little bit big in the sides a little bit. So I did a few more, a little bit more shaping just here to reduce the stitch count a little bit more to get more of a fit around the waist. And then I have also cropped it quite a bit. The original pattern calls for this to be worked 12 inches before you start the ribbing. And I have also decided to add some more color work down here to the bottom. So the original pattern does not have this color work down here, but I just really wanted to do more color work and add some more, another pop of color down here. So I just decided to repeat, you know, starting up here right above the black or the darker spots. And I just repeated that same pattern that I had up at the top. I just had to count, I think this is a repeat of, well, no matter, it doesn't really matter, but I just, you know, figured the repeat, the number of stitches that were in this repeat, and then just made sure that my stitch count had a multiple of that number for the color work at the bottom so that it would match. Let's see, then I went right onto the ribbing after the color work was completed, and it's a 1x1 ribbing. And I don't actually remember what the original pattern calls for, but I did 15 rows of ribbing, and I thought that I just liked how that looked. And then I decided to do a tubular bind off using a sewn method that I found a tutorial for by Very Pink Knits, another tutorial from Very Pink Knits. She has often come in handy for wonderful tutorials, and again, that tutorial was great. It is a 5-step stitch of using a tapestry needle and a long tail of thread, and you go through different stitches. There's like 5 different steps in order to bind off, and then you just repeat those 5 steps over and over again. So, you know, it took a few minutes just to get the hang of that, those steps, but once I got the hang of that, it was very easy. It was more time consuming, obviously, than a regular bind off, but I'm so happy with how it looks, and that will give a little extra stretch to the bind off. It's a beautiful bind off. I'm really happy that I did that. And since I have the steek along the inside, then I've been able to just put all of my tails along, all of my tails that I would have to weave in are just here along the steeked section. And so I won't have to weave those in because they will just be cut off with the steek. Let's see, is there anything else? I don't think so. I'm really happy with it. So now I just have to obviously pick up the sleeves and knit those, and I am planning to put a little bit of color work along the wrist area before I do the ribbing on the cuff as well to match. And yeah, I'm really excited about this. Let's see. Oh, and then of course I'll have to pick up the button bands as well and add those in. So I am able to try this on at this point since it's not on the needle. So I wanted to try it on for you just to give you an idea of what it looks like. This will kind of give an idea of how the fit will be once the button band will be in, though I suppose the button band will add a little bit of extra room than this shows. But anyway, I'm just really happy with how this is fitting. There is a little bit extra room right here, and in the back you can see that it's a little bit, there's a little bit of room there, but I think it's okay. I'm really happy with it, and I think that it's really cute, and I'm hoping that it will go with some dresses that I have that have more of a high waist as well. So anyway, I am really happy with this, but I would like to steek it now while I'm recording so that you all can see how it goes. Oh, so this morning I just took extra scrap of yarn and I just did a whip stitch. So again, I had added 5 steek stitches to the pattern, and I just took some extra yarn and I did a whip stitch under 2 stitches on this side and under 2 stitches on this side. So the only stitch that is open is what I will cut. So I'm gonna do that. Ready? Let's steek this thing. Okay, so my understanding is that I really don't have to have these whip stitches here, but it just will kind of secure those stitches from coming unraveled a little bit, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut right along that center line. Here we go. Eek. So back in April, I did my first Steeked project, which was just a small pouch. And I had also done that on a podcast and filmed that, but it was only a few little stitches that I had to cut. So this is quite a bit more monumental. But I wanted to have it on film anyway, just for my own sake. And I thought, well, this will be awesome to have it be a part of the podcast. Eek, it's so exciting! Ta-da! Oh my goodness, that's so exciting! Yay! I did it! Yay! That's so exciting! Oh my goodness, that's so fun! I want to steek everything. I want to do more and more and more. I'm glad that I could try it on before I steeked it, because then I could really tell that it was going to fit. Because right now, you know, as it's open like this, it's like, oh, is that going to be okay? But it is still fitting obviously nicely, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. Oh my goodness, that's so exciting. I have heard a few people say that they're so scared to try to steek something, but it's not so scary. Yay! I'm so happy. Oh, I forgot to mention that I also changed the color work a little bit, because the original pattern calls for there to only be 8 birds. And then in the center of the back, it calls for there to be a heart right in the middle. But I didn't like the looks of the heart, because this is actually the second time that I had to work the color work section, because it wasn't working out the first time I tried it. So I ripped it back and started over again. Also, the ribbing wasn't very nice the first time I did it. So I had started this over a second time, and then I decided to add an extra bird and kind of rearrange the placement of the bird so that they would fit into the stitch count. Anyway, I'm really happy with that as well. So exciting! So anyway, I'm anxious to get working on this more and get the sleeves knit and get this finished. Oh, and I've also blocked. You can also tell that I have blocked. After I finished the color work the second time, I wanted to make sure that my tension was good. So I blocked this first section up to the bottom of the birds. And you can really kind of tell that the top section stitches look nicer. And then right under here, it starts to kind of pucker a little bit, because this section has not been blocked yet. So that's so neat to see that how much nicer the stitches look after they're blocked. So anyway. Oh my goodness, I'm so thrilled with this. Yay, okay. Okay, I only have one other, my goodness, my hair is so wild. Okay, I only have one other work in progress to share with you. This is in my Tuft Woolens project bag that came with one of my orders. Oh, and on here, I have this cute little pin that I just got at church, actually. This is, can you see this little feet print? This is the actual size of a 10-week-old unborn child in its mama's tummy. And that is just so adorable. Oh my goodness, I love them so much. They're so sweet. So I wanted to put that on there. And in here I have a new cast on that I started for, I had mentioned last week that I was going to be making this, and, well, making a gift for the husband of the woman that I had made the shawl for that I showed last week, the washed out shawl. And her husband also helped us out while I was ill. He came to the emergency room one time when I went to the emergency room. I went several times. One of those times he came and sat with me and my husband. And then he and his wife also loaned our van out to be used to take our boys to their educational services. So I wanted to knit up a gift for him. And this, oh my goodness, that looks so cool. I really, really like this. So fun. Okay, so this is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's called the Tweedy Trees Hat, and it is by Malia Papas. And I am again using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, worsted weight, and I am again using the same colorway. This is again the Mink Heather colorway, the same color that I'm using for my cardigan. And then the trees are made using Forest Heather, which is quite a fitting name. I believe that's what it is. Yes. And I absolutely love this color. It's got quite a bit of depth to it. It's got that beautiful, it's got some blue hues in it. The green has some blue undertones, and then also gold is mixed in. So it really gives a really lifelike look to the trees, I think. Just because obviously trees aren't just one color green. They're, they've got lots of different shades. And when you look closely at the trees, I don't know, it's just beautiful. That yarn color is beautiful. This calls for the same gauge as my cardigan, which was very convenient. So I actually went up to a US size 6 for the ribbing instead of a US size 5. A US size 6 is a 4mm, and this is a 2x2 ribbing. And I did that for 2 inches. And then I went up to a US size 8, 5mm for the main body. It was only 1 or 2 rows here at the beginning before I switched to a US size 10 again, which is a 6mm for the color work. So pretty much the same needles I'm using for my cardigan, except again the ribbing. On my cardigan I used a US size 5, and this I used a US size 6. But anyway, I also changed the color work a little bit on this. The original pattern, this is a free pattern, so I can just show the chart. The original pattern has these crosses that are up high, and I don't know, I just didn't think it looked lifelike, because why would there be crosses flying above trees? I just didn't want them in there, so I eliminated them and just left it like that. And I'm really, really happy with how this is turning out. The gentleman that this is going to, actually for his job, is a tree cutter. So it's very fitting that I would give him a hat with these trees on it. And I think he'll really like it. I did not catch my floats. This is a 9-stitch gap right here in between the 2 trees at the top. But I didn't catch my floats because it's the inside of a hat. And I didn't think that mattered. So I didn't show my floats on my cardigan, but I know people like to see that sometimes. It's kind of interesting. So here's my floats. And I could have probably caught these just to secure them, but I figure you're not going to have anything on the top of your head that's going to catch, so I don't think it matters. I did catch my floats on my cardigan quite often, and it's easy to show them now. So there we have it. So I am already on the decreases for this hat. It works up so quickly. I really have only worked on this for, I don't know how many hours, but only a few days, and not a whole day. Not very much time has gone into this hat. It has worked up very quickly. And I stayed up way too late last night working on the color work because I just wanted to see those trees form. They're just, color work can just be so addictive because you're like, oh, I just want to see the design come to life. So anyway, I absolutely love that. I can see myself making more of this pattern because it's so simple but beautiful at the same time. Anyway, like I said, I'm already on the decreases, and yeah, it's going well. Oh, I forgot to mention that all of the needles that I use are ChowGoo red lace needles. These are the 4-inch tips so that I can have an 8-inch cord, and then I have a total of 16 inches and I can just work in the round, which is so nice. You don't have to do magic loop on hats. It's just so convenient just to work in the round on hats on a 16-inch needle. Anyway, it's going wonderfully. I'm sure I will have this done tonight, probably. If I work on it, I'm sure it will finish up really quickly, and I'll give it a nice block, and those stitches should even out even more, but I think they actually look really nice right now. So hopefully that will be a nice gift for him and he will enjoy it. I'm hoping that it's 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and I'm hoping that that doesn't bother him on his head. But it will be really, really warm. My husband said if it's itchy, he could always wear, you know, like a fleece, you know, a lighter fleece lined hat or something under, and then put this on top, which my husband does with the hat that I made for him. I used 100% merino for him, I believe. Yeah, I used 100% merino for his hat, but he still just does that just for extra warmth, not because the hat I made him is itching at all. But anyway, very happy with this project, and I might make him a pair of fingerless gloves too. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. And actually, I'm not really sure. I should probably finish my cardigan first, because I'm not really sure if I have enough. I think I do. I haven't counted yet, but I think I have like 6 more skeins of this yarn in my stash to finish up the cardigan, which should be plenty. But I should probably finish my cardigan before I make him anything else, just to make sure I don't run out. I mean, it's a commercial yarn, so it probably wouldn't matter if the dye lot wasn't a perfect match, but I should finish up the cardigan first. I have a few new things to share with you all. That same lady that I gifted the shawl to, we went over to their house earlier this week, and she was getting rid of a bunch of books, and she gifted me this book. It's called the Needlework Book, and it is by Wanda Passador, and it's huge. Look at that. And it's really old, and I love old books. Let's see the copyright date. It is from 1969, and it goes through embroidery, crochet, knitting, and it also has things like, oh, I forget what it's called. Embroidery, crochet, oh, smocking, which is a type of embroidery, I guess. But I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, so it's got tons of techniques. It's so neat. I don't think I've ever done any embroidery, really. Just cross stitch, that's all I've done. I don't think I've really done any embroidery before that I can remember, but it goes through all these different stitches. I've been inspired to try embroidery after watching Elizabeth of the Sellapalooza podcast. Hi, Elizabeth. She has been doing so much embroidery lately, and it's gorgeous. So anyway, this is just so much fun. It goes through all these different stitches, and it shows how to do them, and there's different projects that you can try. So I'm excited to maybe try some embroidery. And then it also goes into it's called true needlepoint, they call it. So, you know, more, it's not really cross stitch though, but here, I'll just show you. I don't really know much about it to know what it should be called, but see, isn't that beautiful? But it's not cross stitch, it's just, well, it reminds me of when I was little, I used to do the plastic canvas stitching. You know, I made like a picture frame that I did the plastic, and you just did a diagonal stitch, and that's what this looks like. Looks like just a diagonal stitch. Anyway, it's really pretty. And then, oh, I wanted to show you the smocking because I thought that was really interesting. If I can find it. Here it is. Here are all the different, so smocking, I guess, is when you use stitches to gather up material for dresses. There's some more pictures. So interesting. Here's a few examples of some baby dresses that have added smocking to them. It's cute. I don't know that I'll try that anytime soon, but it's just neat to have this resource to show what that is. And then it has a whole crochet section, which I'm very familiar with crochet, but it's still neat to have a few different stitch patterns. There's also a section here on hairpin lace, which I have never done. So it shows you how to do that. I don't know what I would make with it, but again, it's just a cool technique to know how to do. And there's also a section on hooked rugs. So it goes through that. Pretty cool. So anyway, it's just fun. It's got tons of different techniques in here. And then there's, at the end, there's a whole section on knitting. So it shows you how to knit and a few different cable patterns, talks about how to increase, how to decrease. Here's some cable stitches. And it shows you how to shape things, or talks through how to shape things, how to make a pocket in a few different ways. It talks about necklines. So this might be useful if I ever want to, modify my garments more. Here's a mittens and glove section, and it actually has, it just talks about like the basic pattern. So I haven't really read through that, but it just kind of gives you a quick basic instructions of how to make the patterns. It has a section on the jacquard technique. Never heard of that, but it's here, where you can do two different colors side by side, I guess. Really interesting. I'm thinking it will have, quite a cool, it's just a good resource. Here's a few color work stitches and some lace or eyelets. Fun. So I was very happy to get this from her. That's so nice of her to think of me. Here's some sock patterns, but again, it just has a brief description of how to make them, so I don't know if I'd really be able to follow those patterns and actually get the finished object out of it or not. But anyway, it's a neat resource to have on hand. And then I have a spoiler alert. I did receive the September Yarn Club from Molly of a Homespun House that I had been waiting for. And so if you have not received that or don't want to see that yet, then please look away. I'll try not to describe it, but I will show it now. I absolutely love it. That's so gorgeous. It is on her soft sock base, fingering weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And the colorway is called Unicorn Magic. So beautiful. So I don't have plans for this yet, but I absolutely love it. These colors are right up my alley. So pretty. All right, so the only thing that I have left to share with you is my shawl set. So every time I record a podcast, I like to share a set of 3 hanks of yarn from my Etsy shop that I think look nice together, that would work for a 3-colored shawl or any other project that requires 3 different colors. And so this is my pick for this week. So pretty. I like them together. Again, quite a fall autumnal theme. The first one you've seen several different times because I have used it a lot. This is my enriched colorway. But it just goes so well with my harvest colorway that I had to pair them together. So this is my harvest colorway, and it has a natural base, which is blowing out a little bit here, but then it's speckled with gold and green and deep orange and brown colors. So it's very fitting for this time of year. And then I've also paired it with my Strength colorway, which is just this nice tonal deep brown. And it's on my Twinkle Toes base, which you can see that pretty well. So that has the gold stellina in it, obviously. So here is this set together. And I really like how those look together. So again, that just gives you an idea of the different a few of the different colorways that are in my Etsy shop. My Etsy shop has several different colorways that are available at all times on all 9 of my bases. So you can certainly head on over to noblecharactercrafts.etsy.com if you're interested in checking that out. I always have sweater quantities available, or you can just order whatever you would possibly need on any of my bases. So I'm available to do any of my colorways at all times. So go check that out if you would like. So this week has gone by so quickly. I just can't believe it's already Friday again, and we have done well. We've gotten lots and lots of rain, which is not what we need right now because we really need to harvest. Our corn and beans are needing to get out of the fields, and my husband is a farmer part-time, and anyway, he is anxious to get into the fields, but it's way too wet, so we're hoping that it will dry out. The weather looks pretty dry in the forecast, so we're hoping that it will dry out and he will be able to finally get started picking the crops. Other than that, we've, not much is going on. We've been doing schoolwork like always, and I am continuing to feel very well, thankfully. So I'm just so thankful to be back on my feet after having been down for a while. So I'm continuing to feel great, and yeah, I just am so thankful that you all joined me today. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate that so much. And subscribe to this channel if you would like. I would appreciate that very much as well. I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.